Okay, so to make the New Horizons cape that I've decided that it is a cape, I'm using Red Heart Super Saver, and it's the Aran Fleck. Nice, and it's beautiful. It is a 4-weight, and I'll agree with that, but it's very versatile, obviously, nice and heavy, nice and warm. So you're going to need at least 4 of these. Okay, they're 260 yards each, I believe. Yes, 260 yards each. You're going to need at least 4 because each one of the panels takes a full one and then some. So if it were me, I buy 5 just in case. Then if you have extra, you have extra. Never too much yarn, right? So, okay, so get your supplies with that, and now let's make this thing. Okay, so we're gonna get started on the New Horizons shawl. And I called it the New Horizons because, excuse me, it is the first item I'm making since my new life in retirement. So, you start with your Addi like you do with all of your projects on the Addi. So behind, in front, behind, in front. You're gonna do this all the way around. Until you get back to the beginning. Obviously you start on the first black hooks and you go all the way around. That way you know when you're starting and when you're stopping. So here we go, we're coming to the beginning. And now we're gonna just do a couple. I usually do 3 or 4 before I lock it in. Okay, now very important, at this point, reset your counter. Now I know you've already got a row on here, but I reset the counter at this point because I like the 1 row buffer, and I do not use, what do they call it? Toss away thread or spare thread. I don't use that. I just go right into the project. So at this point, you're going to roll at least, or you're going to do 226 rows. So you've got the counter and you're just gonna go till you've got 226 rows. I will check in with you periodically throughout, but I'm not gonna sit here and make you watch me roll 226 rows. So I'll be back. Okay, so right around 65 rows, this is rubbing on the table. So I take it and I roll it up lightly. Don't mess with it too much, but you roll it up a little bit so that now it gives you more time and room to get, so it's not dragging on the table, because dragging on the table will actually mess up the tension on your stitches. And when you're doing panels like this, you'll be able to notice the difference in the tension, the difference in the pull. So again, you can just keep going. So about every 40 rows after this, I roll it up and start over again. And again, remember, we're going up to 226 rows. So I will see you in about 50 more rows when I show you how I roll it back up. Okay, it's been about 30 rows, so I'm gonna go ahead, roll this up a little bit more. And I'm gonna go ahead and finish this, and I will show you at the end how I take it off. So we're at row 225, okay? So at this point, we're going to need to remove it from the Addi. Now, the way I found easiest is the way I'm going to show you. However you guys normally take your work off of the Addi is completely up to you. but this is how I do it. So I clip it and I tuck it in to that spot. Now I make sure this is closed because I notice that sometimes the needles bang on the guide. Okay, so using the same yarn, because I don't want a different colored seam or anything, I go ahead and I crank it so that it's just past this, okay? Now you want to be careful because you can lift it off and then you find yourself trying to fish through the holes that are already closing up on you as you reach for them. So what I do is I put my fingers here and I just take them off one at a time. I know it's a little more labor intensive than a lot of people do it, but I just like to take my time so that, I'm not cursing later because I went too fast and I pulled a stitch off and now I can't reach it. So make sure I have all this like that. Okay, we're good. So I'm going to go again, crank it, put my fingers on all that I can reach and just keep scooping them off, moving my hand, scooping them off. And we're gonna do this all the way around. Okay, one more. Right there. And we're gonna turn it again. Now watch your excess, this is the working end, so watch that so it doesn't get caught in the needles. So here we go. And this gives you the ability to tug on it a little bit without messing with anything, just to give you a little bit more. And I leave this attached to the skein, the working skein, in case I need extra. I don't want to have to measure it and then, oh, that's too much, and you waste a little bit, or measure it and, oh, that's not enough. You got to start over. So I like to leave it attached to the working skein so that I have the right amount that I need each time. We're about halfway there. I will fast forward through this so that you don't have to watch the whole process, but it is kind of good to see. Don't get complacent and be like, oh, I'm not going to pull it off, because the one time you're not paying attention and you pull this up too high, you're going to pull it off of here, and then you're going to be chasing a stitch, and trust me, that is no fun. So just make sure you're very aware of the fact that these stitches can pull off the Addi at any time. Scoop and pull, scoop and pull. I just realized I have my glove on. I apologize. It's supposed to help with arthritis pain. I'll let you know if it does. Right now, I don't feel any difference, but whatever. We'll see. We'll see how my experiment goes. Okay, so I go all the way now, and I leave that last one right like that. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop these off. Okay, so now that we have the 226 rows, you want to make sure you have it folded nice, as consistent as possible, all the way down. I even fold it in half. Just make sure it's folded nicely and stretched out to the same length all the way around, okay? So now we want to close the ends. Now what I do, so you see how that's in the middle? I don't like that. So I'm going to go ahead and re-fold this, re-flatten that so that the ends are on the outside. Why? Because I'm about to crochet the ends closed, and crocheting the ends closed, I like to keep the ends all at one side. So that's just a preference for me. Obviously, you can do whatever you're comfortable with. So, all right, so we're lining them up. Now you can see, here's your cast on row from when you first went on to your Addi, okay? You're gonna bring this through. Do a little stitch. I'm getting it caught, there we go. Do a little stitch, and there you go, now it's attached. So what you're going to do is all the way across the entire thing, you're just going to do the line that you cast on the Addi. And all I do is a slip stitch all the way across, one for one. Sometimes they get hidden in there. You just got to make sure that you're doing one for one. Okay, this side gets long, that side gets short, but you just peek right in there and you can see that's where it's got to go. Now, I have seen people do single crochets on here, which is totally doable, but I like the least amount of seam possible. So I just do the slip stitch, one for one, all the way across. Okay, and you can see it's turning out to be a really pretty, simple seam. We're going to do it all the way across, kind of tucking it in as you go, because you just want it to be as, what's the word, non-bulky. You want it to be as thin as possible of a seam. So you're keeping it very thin and very uniform all the way across. Okay. About halfway there, I'm going to finish this up, and then I will meet you back at the other side. All right, so I'm coming up to the last few stitches here. And it should again be one for one, outside single line, and then just the slip stitch. Now, here's the very last stitch. But what I do is I actually go through the last stitch itself, okay? See that? You can see it's the row of stitches. I go through the very last stitch itself, and then one last loopy loop, pull it through, cut it off, tie it like that, and you're good. So that's the one end. Okay, so that's how you're going to do all of your ends for all three. So this was the cast on end, and this is the other end. So you're going to have 3 tails here, okay? So once you get it, pull it a little tight, just like you did the other end. Like you don't want it to cinch in, but you do want it to at least tighten up a little bit, okay? And once you do that, I take the original, this is the one that was actually on the Addi, and I tie it to the one that I brought in, okay? And the fun thing is you can just go ahead and tuck all these right in there, tuck your tails right in there. Trim them if you like. I think I'm going to trim those just because, okay? You're not going to need them anymore. You're not going to see them anymore. Nobody's even going to know they're in there. So just like we did on the other end, we're going to find, now this is the one that you use to cast off of the Addi. Same premise here. Bring it through, loop it, and then you're going to go stitch for stitch, outside to outside, and slip stitch, okay? All the way across. Super simple, and it gives you a nice, simple, and pretty seam, okay? So make sure, this one's fighting me a little bit, but you just got to take your time and make sure you get the right one for one. Here we go. Tuck it through, make sure you're not caught on anything. And there, and again, you can do a single crochet here. I just choose not to because I want the least amount of yarn here for the seam. And because at the end of it, I'm going to do a single crochet all the way around. So I don't want to double up on a single crochet row on the ends. So that's my reasoning there, as well as I like how neat and clean it looks doing just the slip stitch through here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish this row up, hide my tails, and then I will show you the next step. Once we get all 3 of these done, all 6 ends closed up, I'll show you the next step. So here we go. All right, so very last tail to hide. Slide it all the way in there. The best thing about making stuff with the Addi is hiding the tails, because you just poke them right inside and they're gone forever. I say it's so easy as I mess it up. But seriously, you just tuck it right in, right inside between the two, poke it out the other side, and there you go. Okay, so I have 3 of the exact same panel, okay? Oh, we all know that sound. There goes my hook. 3 of the exact same panel. Now what you want to do, because you know tensions are different, this and that, you just make sure they're all the exact same length, okay? And line them up so the ends are the same. See, this one's a little tighter, so I'm going to pull that. But we know we counted all of the lines, all of the rows, I'm sorry. We counted all the rows, so we know that everybody has the same length. Okay, now that we have the panels all ready, and I've told you that the most important part is to pick one row and stick with it all the way down, okay? So we're going to take what's left of our working skein here, okay? And we're going to keep working with that one. So I'm going to find the end here, and I'm simply going to sew it together. Again, if you want to do a single crochet to have a more pronounced border, you can, or seam, you can. I don't wish to do that. So you're literally going to go in here, stitch for stitch, all the way down. Now you don't have to pull this all the way each time. I actually leave it attached to this because I don't want to guess how much yarn I need. I want to just have it at the ready in case I need it. So pinch it together, and what you're going to do is all the way down here. Let me just, all the way down here, you're going to go, I can't get on, sorry. You're going to do it this way here. Let me start it, okay? You're going to go through here, 1 to 1, each one all the way down. And remember, keep the same rows, okay? I'll show you another one. We're going to go in here, out through here, okay? Back in. Boy, this is fun backwards. And it's stitch for stitch. Obviously, it's going to be the same stitch with the same stitch because they're the same length panels. So go ahead and stitch these all the way down. Okay? When you get done, go ahead, add your other panel and do the same thing. Remember, keep it 1 for 1 all the way down. Once you get there, I will meet back up with you for the next step. Okay, so we have all 3 panels connected. And you know what? If you like it like that, you can just stop and say, you know what? This is a nice wrap. Okay, but I would like to go one step further. So what I'm going to do, still using the working skein of yarn, which I only have that much left, but that's all right. You know what? On second thought, because I want it one continuous strand all the way around, I'm going to go ahead and start another one and use that. I'm not going to waste that, I promise. But I do want to, I want one continuous for the single crochet all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to use a 5mm crochet hook. And the reason I'm using a 5 is because I want it to be a little bit bigger than what the stitches are. So you're just going to bring it through and literally just space it out as even as possible to do one single crochet in every stitch all the way around. Okay, so struggle with finding the spot, but you're going to go right up, right into the same 2 that you did as you slip stitched. Okay, so the 2 right up here, right on the top. I'm going to do a single crochet, 1 for 1, all the way around. And this time it is a single crochet, not a slip stitch, because we actually want to give it a little border. Okay, so all the way around, just right into this single crochet. Here we go. Okay, again, right up on top. You want to make sure you're being consistent with where the stitches fall. You don't want some underneath the row and some, you know, you want to make sure you're just getting those strands that you slip stitch together. Okay. So that should give you a line right here underneath your single crochet row. So it's almost like underlining your row. Okay, so you're going to keep going all the way across. Okay, and it's going to take a bit to get yourself used to where you're going on here, because you're going to want to default to going under the whole thing, and you don't want to do that. So take your time, 1 for 1, and just know that it's going to take you a little bit. Okay, make sure you get that. There it is, right there. And you can check yourself, like I said, again, by making sure there's a line of stitches underneath. Okay, so I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me struggle through this, but you're going to do 1 for 1 as evenly as possible, spaced out across the entire piece of work. Now you see there's some spots, might be a little tug here, might be, but once you get the whole thing done, it's going to work itself out, so you don't have to worry about that. So go ahead and do 1 single crochet all the way around, and when you get here, I'll show you again when I get here, but you're going to do the same thing. Make sure you stay to the same row and do 1 single crochet in each one of those. Okay, so I'll be back when I get there. Okay, so here we are with a single crochet row all the way around the whole piece. I'm going to tuck my tail, and then we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, tuck your tail as far in as you can. Tuck that right in there. And I'm going to snip. Be very careful, because it would be terrible if you snipped the material itself instead. Okay, so here we go. Now here, because the hook was big enough, it creates a collar on its own. Love it. Okay, so what we want to do now is we're going to sew from corner to curve. Okay, so one whole thing, corner to curve. Now at first I only used a button, but then it was pulling and this and that, so I found that actually making it one seam, one over the top of the other, and then we'll put a button on for decoration. Okay, so you're going to measure where you want it, and then we're going to go corner to curve because it naturally curves, so you'll see it. All right, so get your needle and your thread, get your working yarn, and go back to the one that's just got a little bit left. So we're using that up, and there's the end. Wow, yarn barf. So I'm just quite literally gonna sew one end of it on top of the other, overlap it maybe an inch, okay? So I'm gonna just go in here right at the end and pull it through all the yarn barf that's going on, you should see over there. And lay it as flat as you can so that you have the same amount, the same length, width. English is my first language, believe it or not. And then you're just going to, in and out, sew it to itself. Again, I keep this working yarn live, as I call it, because I'm not sure how much I'm going to use. So I don't want to be backtracking on, oh, I need more, or oh, I used too much. So there we go. So from corner to curve, and I will meet you back when I'm done with that. All right, so once you've done corner to curve, you'll see that because of the hook you used, it makes itself a collar. So you could be done if you like. I mean, you've got the main part done, but you can also put a button here for decoration. And what I also did on my other one is I tacked down the collar a little bit just to make it look a little bit more uniform. So there you go. Nice and pretty. Put a couple buttons. Why don't I do that and I'll be right back. All right, and here we go. I put the buttons on, fold the collar, and ta-da! There you go. So, I know I went through it quick. I know I'm not the best teacher. So if you have any questions, and again, you can tack this down. I didn't, but you can if you like. But there's your cape. I'm in love with this, absolutely in love with it. I hope you like the tutorial. I hope you could follow along with it. Obviously, if not, please leave me comments and I will answer any questions I can. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. If you would like to see more tutorials, please subscribe and check out my tutorial playlist. I also have a bunch of other playlists, and I hope you stick around and be creative. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.